I supported my entire family for 6 years. But when a fire destroyed everything and I had nowhere to turn, my own mother laughed and said this isn't a shelter. That moment made me realize I needed to cut them off completely. By sunrise, my phone had 69 missed calls. Hey Reddit, I'm Emily, 29F. For those 6 years, I gave everything I had: money, time, energy, peace to a family that no longer saw me as a person. I wasn't a daughter. I was just an asset, a bank account with a voice. The worst part? I accepted it, convincing myself that this was love, silent sacrifice, without expecting anything in return. It began innocently enough. After college, I landed a good remote job in digital marketing at 23, full of hope and eager to help. My parents' bakery had suffered financially and eventually shut down during the pandemic. My younger siblings were still in school, so I thought I've got a decent salary. They need me now. We're a family. We stick together. That now turned into 6 years. It started with groceries, then rent, followed by a car payment, my brother's laptop for school, a water heater, and the electricity bill. Each month, they found new ways to need me. I stopped going out, skipped vacations, and lived in a run-down apartment with a leaking ceiling and creaky floors, all to send home half my paycheck. But over time, things shifted. Their tone and attitude changed. They stopped saying thank you and began to expect my support. If I sent money a day late, I received cold texts from my mother. Your dad's stressed again. Hope you're not forgetting us. My sister asked for extra shopping money, as if I were a walking ATM. My dad only called when there was a financial crisis, which was constantly. Yet I kept giving because guilt is a powerful force. I thought they raised me, they struggled, they must be hurting. But the truth was, they weren't struggling anymore. They simply stopped trying because I had taken over. My mom hadn't worked in years, and my dad took on occasional gigs, but never followed through. They grew comfortable relying on me while I silently sank. Then, 3 months ago, the fire occurred. I was away on a 2-day business trip when the apartment above mine caught fire due to faulty wiring. The flames swept through the top floors, including mine. I returned to find the building cordoned off with red tape and smoke still rising. My heart sank. Everything I owned was gone: my laptop, hard drives, birth certificate, clothes, furniture, photos. My life reduced to ash in less than half an hour. I stood on the street in the same clothes I had worn for the trip, clutching a dying phone with 12% battery, completely shattered. I didn't even cry, I just stared, numb. Then I made the biggest mistake. I called my mother. She answered on the second ring, cheerful and loud as always. Mom, there's been a fire. I lost everything. I have nowhere to go. I need to stay with you for a few days. There was silence, then she laughed. Emily, are you serious? This isn't a shelter. We barely have room as it is. Your brother's in the guest room. And honestly, you're almost 30. Isn't it time you learn to handle your own mess? Handle my own mess? As if I hadn't been handling theirs for 6 years. I stood there in the street, her words echoing in my mind, devoid of concern. No, are you okay, or do you need help? Just cold rejection. Like I was an inconvenience. Like I wasn't her daughter. I didn't argue, cry, or plead. I said nothing and ended the call. In that moment, something snapped inside me, not in an angry way, but I went cold and still, as if all warmth had been vacuumed away. I was done. That night, I used what little I had left on my credit card to book a 3-day Airbnb on the edge of the city. Sitting on the floor in a stranger's living room, I made a life-changing decision. I was going to disappear from their lives. No grand announcement, no shouting match, just silence. The next morning, I got to work. I called every service I had been paying for, canceled Netflix, removed their address from Amazon Prime, stopped grocery subscriptions, and disconnected the utilities I covered. I called the bank and removed my name from the co-signed car loan. Then I transferred the last payment I would ever make to them and ended the auto debit permanently. I deleted the family group chat. Over the following days, I began to rebuild. I informed my employer about what had happened, and they offered support. Insurance started moving, albeit slowly. I bought a refurbished laptop and worked from a co-working space. A kind colleague lent me dishes and sheets. It was quiet and lonely, but it was mine. And you know what? It felt peaceful. I didn't owe anyone anything. For once, I didn't wake up dreading a new demand. For the first time in years, I could breathe. Days went by, and I expected someone to notice, but the silence from them was deafening. No one checked in, not even my sister. On the 4th day, it was early, around 6:40 a.m. I woke up to my phone buzzing on the nightstand. I blinked at the screen and froze. There it was, 69 missed calls. Not a joke, but real 69 missed calls from my mom, dad, siblings, and even my aunt. Dozens of voicemails and hundreds of unread messages. The silence had ended, and they were panicking, because everything they depended on was crumbling without me. I didn't unlock the phone immediately. I just stared at the screen, letting the number sink in. I got up, made some coffee with a borrowed kettle, opened the balcony door, and sat there as the city came to life. While my family fell apart, I took my first deep breath in years and said nothing. I sat on that tiny Airbnb balcony, sipping coffee, staring at the screen, displaying 69 missed calls, and felt something I hadn't felt in years: silence without pressure. It was a clean, still kind of silence that didn't come with waiting for the next crisis to hit. For the first time, the fire wasn't behind me, it was within me, burning away everything that tethered me to them. I didn't rush to listen to the voicemails or skim through the texts. I knew exactly what they would say. My mother would start with feigned concern, then switch to passive-aggressive guilt. My dad would bark demands, trying to regain control. My sister would be confused, wondering why I wasn't playing my role. And my brother? He'd just be angry that the money was gone. I didn't need to hear the words, I had heard them all before. The difference now was that I no longer cared. That same morning, I opened a brand new savings account and transferred what was left of my emergency fund finally for my emergencies, not theirs. I ordered a new laptop through my work's reimbursement program, applied for a replacement ID, and signed a short lease on a quiet rental in a part of the city where no one knew me. In less than a week, I had accomplished more for myself than I had in the past 6 years combined. Meanwhile, the calls kept coming. I finally muted the group thread, turned off notifications, and deleted their contacts one by one, not out of spite, but for peace. I knew that if I read too much, I might fall back into the trap. That's how guilt works, whispering in your ear, disguised as duty. I had spent years apologizing for not being enough, while giving them everything. Never again. A few days later, I answered a knock at the Airbnb door, surprised to see my mother standing there. She wore the same heavy makeup, the same cardigan-like armor, and the same expression, as if she thought this would go her way. She glanced around, disappointed by the size of the place, and said flatly, "We need to talk." "No, how are you, or are you okay?" Just a businesslike demand. I didn't fully open the door. I leaned against the frame and said nothing. She launched into her speech. "Your father's been sick. Your brother's tuition hasn't been paid. We're weeks behind on rent. We don't understand what's happening. Why are you acting like this? Why would you just abandon your family?" There it was, the manipulation, the faint confusion, acting like she didn't know what she'd done. I laughed quietly, bitterly. "You turned me away the night I lost everything, and you laughed. You said this wasn't a shelter. You told me to figure it out myself." She blinked as if she couldn't remember, or maybe she didn't think I would. I continued, "So, I figured it out. I'm fine. I survived. And I'm not coming back." Her eyes narrowed. "You're being dramatic. We needed you. We counted on you. And I was never allowed to count on you," I shot back. "Not once." There was a long pause before her voice lowered into that tone she always used when she was about to guilt-trip me. "We're your family, Emily. You're supposed to take care of us." I stared at her, calm and resolute. "No, I took care of you for 6 years. You treated me like a wallet, not a daughter. The one time I needed you, not for money, not for anything huge, just a roof and some compassion, you turned your back on me." She tried to speak again, but I shook my head. "We're done. You can go." And I closed the door in her face. She knocked again, calling my name, but I didn't answer. I stood in the kitchen, letting the moment wash over me. For years, I had longed to be heard, to be understood. I didn't get that, but I gained something better. I got out. After that, it was like a switch flipped in the family dynamics. The silence didn't last long. My dad texted me a week later, "Grow up. You're being ridiculous. You don't turn your back on your blood." He followed it up with a request for $600 to help get things back on track. I blocked his number. Next came my sister. She didn't ask for money. Instead, she sent a long message, half apology, half confusion. She mentioned that things were falling apart at home, and that she didn't understand why I had gone silent, but she hoped I was okay. It was the first message that felt somewhat sincere. I didn't reply, not because I didn't care, but because I needed distance. The pain was still too fresh, the betrayal too raw. By the end of the month, I heard through a cousin, who didn't know I had cut them off, that my family was struggling. Their car had been repossessed, my brother had to defer a semester, and the power had been temporarily shut off. The walls were cracking because, for the first time in years, I wasn't holding everything up. A small part of me felt a flicker of guilt, but the rest of me felt free. I poured that freedom into myself. I started therapy, joined a pottery class on Sundays, something I used to love, but had given up, because weekends were for catching up on work. I went grocery shopping for real food and slowly decorated my apartment, choosing items I liked rather than what was cheap or practical. One night, I walked past a mirror and barely recognized myself, not because I looked different, but because I was standing taller, smiling more easily, breathing deeper. It took losing everything to realize I had nothing left to lose except the people who had been draining me for years. A month after the fire, I received a handwritten letter from my sister. She finally acknowledged what I had done. She wrote about the time I missed my birthday dinner to pay off their credit card debt. She remembered how Mom spoke about me behind my back, calling me dramatic whenever I expressed burnout. She said she was sorry, and that she was beginning to see everything clearly. I cried while reading it, not because it fixed everything, but because, for the first time, someone recognized that I had sacrificed for that family, that I wasn't crazy or selfish, and that I had been taken for granted. I didn't reply right away. I still haven't. But I kept the letter in my nightstand drawer, folded neatly, like something fragile. Because maybe, just maybe, not all bridges need to burn completely. But the ones I walked away from, they're staying behind me. Now I wake up not to 69 missed calls, but to sunlight streaming through linen curtains. I've chosen a quiet home filled with peace instead of panic, with mornings that belong to me. I was never the selfish one. I was just the first to stop being used.